Good evening, everybody. A warm welcome to all of you to the part three of From Twilight to Light, the Sunlit series of interactions organized by Oro Youth, the youth wing of Sri Aurobindo Society. Today's session is going to be on working with anxiety, inside out, which will be facilitated by our guest speaker, Miss Anahita Sanjana. Let me quickly introduce our guest speaker to all of you. Anahita has been teaching yoga as an ICSE subject for the past 15 years at the JB Petit School, Mumbai, and is thrilled with the response of the youth to the subject. In the year 2014, the University of Chicago awarded her the Outstanding Educator Award for her work with teenagers. Since 1997, Anahita has been holding private yoga classes for both children and adults. For Anahita, yoga helps people to recover their health, to find their inner peace and happiness, to be dynamic and creative in dealing with life. Anahita explores her spiritual master, Sri Aurobindo's epic work, Savitri, with the youth on Zoom every Saturday at 5 p.m. We are happy to have you amidst us today. In this session, Ms. Anahita will take us through the journey of exploring anxiety and help us gain insight into the three fundamental questions, which are: what do I do when anxiety hits me? What role do my thoughts play in generating anxiety? Is it possible to live without anxiety at all? If yes, then how? So I request Ms. Anahita to take over the session.
Good evening and welcome everyone. Palak, I wanted to start with an invocation, but how do I do it with this beep beep going on constantly? What do you suggest?
Uh, we can mute the participants for some time. Rishi,
But
can
as
you
they enter the waiting room, will it go ting ting all the time?
just give us a moment? We can mute that part as well. Just
Yes,
give us
that
a
will be
second.
lovely.
Yeah. Rishi, are you doing that?
Yes, I've done that.
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone, today is a wonderful day. It's the day of Guru Purnima. And we'll start with the invocation we start with at our Savitri classes as well, invocation to Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Some of you may be here who have not yet found your gurus. In that case, just feel gratitude to life, because life is also the greatest guru there is. But as we do this invocation, just let's remember our gurus in whatever form it comes to us, and so that their blessings may be with us through this session. Okay? Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyoti Arvind. Okay, so before we start, those of you who'd like to turn on your videos, I'd love to see you, because if you want me to speak well, it's important to show me your faces, because I draw my inspiration from seeing y'all. So let me just quickly go across the screen and see all of you. Lovely. Okay, lovely. So, I see a lot of young faces here, and I'm so happy to see that. Most of you know it, but those of you who don't, Sri Aurobindo had tremendous hope in your generation. In fact, he said that after 1969, there'll be very special souls who will be born who will change the destiny of Earth. And I too have a lot of hope and faith in your generation, not just because my guru has said it, but I've worked with your generation for over 20 years. And my experience tells me that my hope is justified. A lot of you, when I say that, a lot of you say, Miss, what are you saying? You must be joking. We are the most messed up generation there is. We have every third person has anxiety, depression, we have drugs. How can you say that we have to change the face of the earth? But really, I don't care about all that. All your anxiety, your depression, whatever you're dealing with, it's part of the work in progress. Really, I see in this generation a questioning mind, a thirst for progress, a willingness to break molds of the past and create new molds for the world. And that I find truly heartening. So let's begin with what Sri Aurobindo himself says about all of you in the Savitri. This is about your generation. Can we have the first screen share, Palak? Now, Sri Aurobindo clearly said that I'm not a philosopher, I'm a seer, and what I see, I write. So his Savitri is full of visions he had. He actually saw very special souls coming down to earth, and that's what he's written about. This is a passage from his poem Savitri. I saw the omnipotence flaming pioneers over the heavenly verge which turns towards life, come crowding down the amber stairs of birth, forerunners of a divine multitude. He's talking about y'all. Out of the paths of the morning star they came, into the little room of mortal life. I saw them cross the twilight of an age, the sun-eyed children of a marvelous dawn. That's what each of you is, sun-eyed child of a marvelous dawn. At the great creators with massive brows of calm, the massive barrier breakers of the world, and wrestlers with destiny in her lists of will, the laborers in the quarries of the gods, the messengers of the incommunicable, the architects of immortality. What a homage he's paid, y'all. He said, y'all are the sun-eyed children of a marvelous dawn, great creators with wide brows of calm, and massive barrier breakers of the world, and wrestlers with destiny in her lists of will. Children who are born with such tremendous soul force, their horoscopes don't come true because they have the soul force to change their destiny, and wrestlers with destiny in her lists of will. The laborers in the quarries of the gods, the messengers of the incommunicable, the architects of immortality. Y'all are going to be the architects of immortality and take the world to a much better place. I am so convinced y'all are going to do it. Once you turned to the right path, once you've finished with all your experiments that you're curious about, but once you really turn to the light, I'm so confident that y'all are going to do it. Thank you, Palak. You can release the screen share. Okay. Now, let me come back to what I told you, that many kids say, Miss, you must be joking. We are the most messed up generation. We have this, we have that. But here again, Sri Aurobindo says something wonderful. He talks about the dark persona. he says that if you have a particular weakness in you, a tendency to be depressed or anxious or angry or whatever else, you carry an equal and opposite potential for life. So I see this in the children that I teach also. The children who are calm and peaceful to begin with make progress with yoga. But the children who are chaotic to begin with, once they go to Pandi, once they experience the Samadhi, the turnaround in them and the depths they go to, it's just marvelous to see. So it's good if you're messed up, because Sri Aurobindo assures us that the more messed up you are, the more potential you have for life. The more anxiety you feel, the more potential you have to feel peace. The angrier you are, the more potential you have to be calm. I'm not inviting you to generate depression and anger just to create more potential. I'm just telling you this is what it is. Now let's go into anxiety. So many of you, in fact, maybe all of us think that the cause of our anxiety is circumstantial, that the cause of our anxiety is a bad setup at home, bad relationships, insecurity about job, insecurity about finances, insecurity about your health. But what if I tell you that none of these are really the cause of your insecurity or your anxiety? Just hear me out. And if you have questions, I'm very happy to address them. Let's look at a flame of fire. Suppose the flame of fire is at 40 degrees. Your body temperature is approximately 36.5 degrees. If a 40-degree flame of fire touches you, it will burn you. But suppose there was a Martian whose body temperature was 50 degrees Celsius. The same flame of fire will feel cold to that Martian. What I'm trying to tell you is, if I say fire burns me, why does it not burn that Martian? If I say that this circumstance is the cause of my anxiety, maybe another person in the same circumstance would not get anxious about it. A third person in the same circumstance would get even more anxious than me about it. So how can I say that the circumstance causes me anxiety? And if I allow myself to think that maybe there's something more than the circumstance that causes me anxiety, what could that be? Now listen to me carefully. I am suggesting to you that it's not circumstance that causes anxiety, but it's programs stored in your subconscious mind that cause you your anxiety. Let's look at the working of our mind. Let's look at how many thoughts we really choose to think and how many thoughts just come into our mind from nowhere. We haven't invited them, we don't want them, but they are just there. So if we haven't chosen those thoughts, where do they come from? Science has proven it that just 5% of your mind or 5% of your thinking comes from what you call your conscious creative mind. So you choose to have only 5% of your thoughts, but 95% of your thoughts are coming from your subconscious mind. You don't choose to have them, they just come. So if 90% of my thoughts are coming from my subconscious mind, that means my anxiety also comes from my subconscious mind. Now, what is my subconscious mind really made of? My subconscious mind is like a tape recorder. It has recorded various experiences, various exposures that have been fed to me right since I was a child. Science is now saying that even when I was in my fetus, my subconscious mind, in my mother's womb, my subconscious mind was storing its program. So the subconscious mind doesn't question, it doesn't choose. It doesn't choose the program that enters it. Whatever it sees, it records. And later on in our life, those programs in the subconscious mind are played out and constitute 95% of our thinking. So, to give you an example, I once worked with a girl who had parents who were very critical. And she had obviously formed a subconscious program in her mind that no matter what I'll do, I'll be criticized. Now she found a partner, boyfriend, who was really a gem, who was very loving, but they'd constantly have tips because she would constantly imagine that he was criticizing her even when he wasn't. And we had several dialogues with both of them, and she finally saw that, yeah, he's not criticizing me, but I have such a strong program in my subconscious mind that no matter what I do, I'll be criticized, that I'm superimposing it on my partner. And the moment she saw that, she said that, oh, wait, my partner X is not like that. This is just a program from my subconscious mind. I'm not going to buy into it. What does this have to do with anxiety? Everything. So you will feel that you're getting anxious because of a particular health condition or a particular financial status or a particular this. But the truth is that your anxiety is coming from a program fed into your subconscious mind from the time maybe you were little or whenever, that I'm unsafe, that if something bad is going to happen to me, something bad will always happen to me, I'm doomed. It won't make sense to your logical conscious mind because you know it's not true with your conscious mind. But if there's a struggle between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, guess who's going to win? Obviously, your subconscious mind. So consciously, you may have read that I'm safe, I'm good, mother's there, God is there, etc., which is terrific. But if in your subconscious mind, from the time you were little, there's been a program that the world is an unsafe place, Murphy's Law, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong, all that is fed into your subconscious mind, then those programs will play themselves out, creating your anxiety. So Buddha had the most fantastic understanding of the human mind, and he used to tell this story that think of a man who hits a dog with a stone. The dog will get annoyed and start barking at the stone, oblivious of the fact that the stone came from the man who was behind the bushes. He will only see the stone and get angry at the stone. We are all like that dog. The stone is our circumstances or the apparent cause of our anxiety. We are barking at that and we are thinking that if this cause is removed, I'm going to be terrific. But the real cause of our anxiety is not circumstances. It's the man hiding behind the bushes, the programs in your subconscious mind. So why is it so empowering to recognize this? Because if I see that the cause of my anxiety is circumstances, I'm quite helpless. I can't change them. Very often I can't change them. But if I do recognize that the cause of my anxiety is programs in my subconscious mind, I have infinite power to change them. So the moment, like I said, that girl I was working with, the moment she recognized that the cause of my upset is not my boyfriend, the cause of my upset is subconscious programs in my mind which are telling me that he's criticizing me when he's not, that was the solution to making her relationship work. So the moment you recognize that all I have to do is change programs in my subconscious mind and I'll be free of anxiety, you at least stop barking up the wrong tree. You stop trying to change circumstances. You look within, and that's why I've titled the talk, Working with Anxiety from Inside Out. We usually try to solve it from outside. We want to attack that stone that hit the dog. We want to fix the outside, but we'll try ad nauseum to fix the outside, and the problem will remain because we are really barking up the wrong tree. We fix ourselves, we fix the programs in our subconscious mind, and the outside automatically gets fixed. So, if we, Palak, can we have the next screen share, please? This is a gem from Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, where ignorance is, there suffering too must come. So what is our fundamental ignorance? That in our context, of course, there are several ignorances, but I'm talking about ignorance in our context. Our fundamental ignorance is that my circumstances, my state of health, my dysfunctional family at home, my whatever is causing my suffering. But the truth is to recognize that this is not the whole truth. Somewhere there are programs in my subconscious mind which need to be changed. And when they are changed, then automatically my suffering will shift. I can hear a lot of you say, but that's not really fair. What if I have a parent who's always insulting me, criticizing me, putting me down? How can you say that my upset is coming from my subconscious mind? So the point is that if you are like a magnet, and if you've all done that experiment as children, put a magnet and put a cardboard over it, sprinkle iron filings, and the iron filings will take the lines of force, shape of the lines of force of the magnet. The magnet is the consciousness, the programs in your subconscious archive. The lines of force are the vibe that you generate around you. The iron filings are the circumstances of your life that simply align yourself according to your consciousness. A famous thing which many of you like, as is your vibe, so is your tribe. Tribe is not just people around you. Tribe are the circumstances in your life. You attract them depending on the consciousness you live with. If you change your consciousness, the outside automatically falls into place. And I've seen this umpteen times in umpteen people that I've worked with. The moment they start changing inside, the moment their deep-rooted beliefs about life change, their relationships with people, their relationships with money, everything changes the moment their belief system changes. Because life is like that. Whatever you believe about yourself and about life, life will say amen, tathastu to it, and it will be. And it's not a conscious belief. Remember, your subconscious mind is infinitely more powerful than your conscious mind. Whatever you're storing in the subconscious mind is what has the power to attract. So now, having said that, Sri Aurobindo, how do we change the programs in our subconscious mind? Sri Aurobindo tells us a wonderful thing. He says, yes, the subconscious is there. Your conscious is there. But what you're not aware of is the superconscious, which is the saving grace. So the subconscious usually has frequencies below your waking state. But the superconscious in you has frequencies above your wake. What is the superconscious in you? It's that part of you which you're not conscious of, but which is fully conscious of you, and from behind its veil is working to support you, guide you, protect you. The Buddha calls it your God nature. Sri Aurobindo calls it the mother's presence in you. Whatever you call it, etc. The point is that the superconscious exists. That part of you which connects you to the higher light exists. If this sounds far-fetched, look for simple examples in your life. I remember there was one child who shared a very touching story with me. She was a teenager, but she was afraid of darkness. And for some reason, she was alone at home that particular night. And she'd come to Pondicherry. She believed in the mother. And she said, I was so scared and I was convinced there were ghosts in the curtains and all that. And I just prayed to Mother and I went to sleep. And she said, Miss, when I woke up, I found my hands like this. And she said it was a life changing moment for me. It was like her own superconscious had given her the message that your support system is inside you. Her one hand was holding her other hand, telling her that if you hold your own hand, you're going to be fine. You don't need a hand outside you. That's how she interpreted it, and it was really quite transforming for her. So that's how her superconscious answered her. She prayed, she thought she was praying to Mother, and she was, but the Mother is the superconscious inside us. She's not something outside. And instantly she was put to sleep. She was delivered out of her prayer, out of her fear, and she woke up with this beautiful message right in her hand. To give you another example of how the superconscious worked, once I corrected some exam papers actually, not even test papers, and I put them in a very safe place. So safe that I just couldn't find them. And I was in a complete dilemma. How do I say that a whole bundle of exam papers is missing? And I prayed to Mother and I closed my eyes. And then I was just with my breath, and suddenly it flashed in front of my eyes. I saw an image of me putting the bundle of papers exactly where I had. So again, to me, it was the superconscious answering me. And it's not just to me or that child. The superconscious is a fact for all of us. It's just that we've not built enough bridges to connect our conscious mind to the superconscious mind. And the solution to changing the programs in our subconscious mind is to bring the light of the superconscious through our conscious mind into the subconscious. Because I've already said that if there's a fight between your subconscious mind and your superconscious and your conscious mind, your subconscious is going to win hands down. Your conscious mind has very limited power over the subconscious mind. But your superconscious is infinitely more powerful than the subconscious. Sri Aurobindo says it beautifully. The subconscious may be immense, but your superconscious conscience is infinite. So who's going to win between something that's immense and something that's infinite? Obviously, something that's infinite. So you have that access in you. And if you tune into it, no matter, I mean, I know children, teenagers who've been diagnosed as um, schizophrenic, bipolar, medication, and they've just come to the mother, and in months, they've just gotten off all medication. They've turned around so brilliantly just because they came to Pondicherry, they connected with the mother, and everything changed in their life. So, and many of us here have that lifeline. Many of us have a very conscious access to the mother. And if we use that access, there is no revolt of the subconscious mind that cannot be quelled. Now, what the conscious mind calls uh, faith is a knowing in the superconscious. The superconscious already knows things which you're invited to take on faith in your conscious mind. And sometimes, because you're taking it as faith in your conscious mind, if the subconscious says, no, this is all good, it works for other people, but mother won't help me, I'm too bad. I'm just giving you some of the typical things that go on in the mind. When the anxiety is so overwhelming and I can't believe that mother can bail me out of this, that's because I'm struggling to impose a belief of my conscious mind on the subconscious. And sometimes the subconscious is too powerful to buy it. But if I go to my superconscious, I don't have to fight anything. I already know it there. What do I know? Palak, next screen share. So this is a gem from Savitri. Whether it seem good or evil to men's eyes, only for good the secret will can work. So we get anxious because we don't have enough faith in the moment of anxiety, right? At that time, our faith is in darkness and doom, but and the mind will tell you that, oh, this is wrong, this is very unfortunate. If that hadn't happened, I'd be in so much of a better place. It's so sad that this is happening to me. All these victim mentality thoughts will come from your subconscious mind. But the superconscious in you will already know that whether it seems good or bad to men's eyes, to my vision, only for good the secret will can work. That there is an intelligence in life which is making everything happen. Even the so-called terrible things are paving the way for an eventual good. And you already know this in your superconscious. But it's not visible to your conscious mind because your conscious mind is seeing one piece of a jigsaw puzzle and that's all it can see. Its limited vision cannot see the whole jigsaw puzzle. So it's calling it good, bad, unfortunate, etc. But the superconscious, which is all knowing in you, can know where that puzzle piece fits and can see it everything together and will acknowledge that even if it's not seeming to be good at the moment, eventually it will work to take me to a better place. Next screen share, Palak. Beautiful lines from Savitri. This world was not built with random bricks of chance. That's the whole point that causes us anxiety. We somehow there's that subconscious program in us, there's that program in our subconscious mind that life is random. Oh my God, I'm seeing so many terrible people to so many terrible things happening to people. It'll happen to me also. COVID is happening to other people. It'll happen to me also. So and so committed suicide. What if it happens to me? So that's when we think that the world is random. But we are told by Sri Aurobindo, the world was not built with random bricks of chance. A blind God is not destiny's architect. A conscious power has drawn the plan of life. There is a meaning in each curve and line. There is a meaning in everything that happens to us. Next, Palak. Pain is the hammer of the gods to break a dead resistance in the mortal's heart. So the question is, if we feel God is so almighty and the superconscious is so great, why does it make me go through this kind of pain? And Sri Aurobindo answers us that pain is the hammer of the gods to break a dead resistance in the mortal's heart. Somewhere else he writes, if the heart was not forced to want and weep, we would have never reached out to the higher suns. Not exact, whatever I remember from Savitri. So life has to sometimes send us pain to bring the light of the superconscious to the programs of the subconscious to wake us up to the truth of what we are. Because, and Mother has said that life will never give you more pain than what is necessary for your growth. Mother says life measures out every drop of pain so accurately that it's only as much as you need for your growth and no more. Yes, your mind will say, but I don't agree. I sometimes feel there's more pain in my life than I can take. But that's your mind. And your mind is an expert at saying things which aren't true. So why believe it? So pain is the hammer of the gods to break a dead resistance in the mortal's heart. Next, Palak. Okay. So now I'm seeing on the chat, I haven't seen all the chats, but just some I've seen. How do we get to the superconscious? That's what I'm going to address in the last part of this talk. And then I'll be open to your questions. After we do this, Palak will unmute y'all and we can have an interactive session. But I'm going to give you a tool to bring the light down from your superconscious to your subconscious. And I'm just recording this on my phone for those of you who will want the audio, so you can use it. What I want all of you to do is to get a paper and a pen, or use your phones. You all are superb with typing on the phone, so use your phone to type. I want you to work to write down one thought which causes you anxiety. So suppose the thought is, oh my God, I will never survive this crisis. Whatever your crisis is. Oh my God, I'll never survive this heartbreak. I cannot live with parents like this. I'm giving you examples. I am so useless and incapable that I don't only feel equipped to live. Whatever else, write your own script, but write it authentically. A thought that gives you a lot of anxiety. There are questions, how can I control my subconscious mind, etc. I am giving you exactly the tools to do that right now. Okay, now once you've written this belief, I want you to write, suppose I give you a magic wand in your life, so that you can change that tape playing in your subconscious mind, and I tell you to rewrite the belief you want to put into your subconscious mind. So suppose my belief is that I'll never be happy if I have parents as abusive as this. I change it to, I have a loving, harmonious setup at home. I'm loved and I can love everyone. Don't listen to the mind which says, what crap, it's not true. Or if you have uncertainty of the outcome of my ventures, it could be that all my efforts are in the hands of a supreme intelligence bigger than my mind. I'll do my best and that supreme intelligence will do the rest. And I know I'll be taken to the best possible place I can go. Some of you are raising your hands, but right now, let's just finish this. There'll be time for question answers later, okay? So just hold your questions for now. If it's very urgent, put it on the chat and I'll read it. So write this down. Write down the thought which makes you very anxious and change it to something positive and bright. It's opposite. Take your time. How you word it is very important. Phrase it well. Or if I'm worried about the health and safety of loved ones, my loved ones are in the best of health. They are looked after by the mother's protective eye and they'll always be well. Or if I'm worried about the future of the world, again, Mother, God, Supreme Intelligence is in charge and the world is only going to go to a good place despite all appearances. There's a beautiful line in Savitri, whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever the appearance of life of the world, whatever our strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift and bail, drift is randomness, bail is sorrow, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. Whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever our strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift and bail, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. Okay, so if all of you have written out your beliefs, we are now going to make an attempt to bring down the light of the superconscious into the subconscious to change the programs there. We are going to use this very special mantra given to us by Sri Aurobindo. Om Anandmayi, Chaitanyamayi, Satyamayi, Parame. This was the mantra he gave us to describe the mother, but the mother herself said that I am in you as the deepest and the most beautiful part of you. So the mother is the subconscious inside us. So we could regard this as a mantra for the subconscious within us. The subconscious in us is Anandmayi. Mayi in Sanskrit means full of joy, Ananda. Even if I'm so anxious and depressed on the surface, deep down I have a core which is untouched by the depression. Chaitanyamayi, it's all-knowing. Chaitanya is consciousness. Even if I'm so confused and lost on the surface, deep down I have a core which knows everything. Satyamayi, full of truth. Parame, supreme, unbreakable. There's a part of me which in the Gita, it's beautifully said, Krishna telling Arjun, and he tells Arjun that what I'm saying for you is true for humanity for ages to come. So Krishna tells Arjun, you are that which no fire can burn, no sword can cleave, no water can wet. So that Parame inside us, which is unbreakable. So we are evoking that part of us which is full of joy, which is fully conscious, which is full of truth, which is unbreakable and supreme Parame. So, Avinash has just sent me, mother is the superconscious within us. I said the subconscious. Thanks for correcting me if I said that. Of course, mother is the superconscious within us, not the subconscious. Okay? Mother is everything, really. We can't say she's not this or she's not that, because everything there is the mother. But the pure essence of the mother is the superconscious in us. Okay? And these words describe the superconscious in us. So, we are first, now the one location, Sri Aurobindo tells us that the superconscious in us is located in two regions. One is above the head, one is in the heart. In the heart, he calls it the psychic being. So we are going to try and go into whatever extent we can, to whatever extent we can, in touch with the mother's presence inside our heart with the help of the mantra. After that, we are going to, when we are connected to that presence inside, we are going to use that connection to repeat the positive belief and repeat it with so much intention that it goes right down to your subconscious mind. Now, I'll take you through this process, but I beseech you do it every night just before you sleep. Because just before you sleep, the wall between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind becomes very thin. So whatever you think just before sleeping goes very deep into your subconscious mind. So do this process just before you sleep every night. Do it for 21 days. It's my guarantee if you do it with faith and intentions, you'll be a different person for it. Okay, so I invite you to shut your eyes and we'll all chant this mantra together. You'll be muted, but you'll hear my voice and you chant with me. So let's go through this process together. Shut your eyes. Rising spine, open heart, relax shoulders. Put your right hand at the center of your chest, the way I've put mine, left palm over it. Drop your chin. Feel your chest expanding against your palms and softening. And take your awareness to a space behind where your palms touch at the center of your chest. Hold an attentive listening at the center of your chest. The mother tells us, pull all the scattered threads of your attention and bring them into the heart center and listen till you tune into a calm stillness, a peace inside you. That is my presence inside you. And she assures us, if you fail once, try again. Fail a second time, try again and again till you find me in your depths. Because I am always with you since I am you. The mother tells us, I am always with you because I am you in your deepest. So invoking her presence within with this mantra, Anandmayi, this presence which is full of joy, Chaitanyamayi, this presence which is all conscious, Satyamayi, this presence which is full of truth, Parame, this presence where I am unbreakable, unbendable, indestructible. So as you inhale, focus in the heart center. Exhale, soundlessly articulate Anandmayi in your heart. Inhale a second time. Exhale, articulating soundlessly Chaitanyamayi in your heart. Inhale a third time. Exhale, articulating Satyamayi in your heart. Fourth breath, Parame. I'm going to be quiet. You do 2 more cycles of this mantra. Spread the mantra over 4 breaths, dropping 1 word of the mantra into your heart with each exhalation. And now let's all of us chant this mantra together 3 times. Those of us who are new to it, let it fall on your ears till you can chant it with us. Keep the focus in the heart. Anandamayi, Chaitanyamayi, Satyamayi, Parame, Anandamayi, Chaitanyamayi, Satyamayi Parame Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame. Now feeling her smiling presence in your heart, what was that negative belief about anxiety that you thought of? Do you want to continue to believe that? If not, change that belief here and now. Bring up that positive statement you wrote. Articulate it with intention in your heart space. Articulate it with so much intention that you start feeling the positive emotion as if it's already true. Create your own reality. Sri Aurobindo has assured you that you are the architects of immortality. The massive barrier breakers of the world live up to his words. Use your soul's strength to change the pattern of your subconscious archives. So articulate that positive belief with so much intention that you feel you created it on another plane already. On that plane, you're already feeling that emotion as if it's already happened. If it has already happened, how do you see yourself? What is the expression you're wearing? What do you see around you? What do you hear people telling you? This belief has come true, the positive belief. What do you hear yourself telling the people? It's important to give sense inputs because your subconscious mind understands vision and words, not just like a statement, but if you actually support that statement with visions you will see, words you will hear, then it goes deeper into your subconscious mind. What is this positive emotion that you're feeling, this elevated emotion, if that positive belief has come true? Where in your body do you feel that positive emotion? Does it have a color? If not, no problem. Does it have a texture? Does it feel tingly, liquid, molten? If not, no problem. Half a minute more, create your reality, anchored in her presence within you. Be a co-creator with her, the conscious collaborator that she's looking for. Last few seconds with this visualization, with this articulation. And then open your eyes whenever you're ready to. So one part of working with your subconscious mind is to do this every night before you sleep. But the other part is that even in your waking hours, whenever those negative records start playing from your subconscious mind, you immediately change it. You immediately remember the positive belief and keep repeating it. Because you remember your subconscious mind is a habitual mind. It stores what you've made a habit of thinking. If you change your habit to thinking of bright, happy thoughts, that's what will be stored in your subconscious mind, and that's what will come up later on also. So do this for yourself, do this for the mother. This is what she wants you to be, and this is what she will make you if you consciously collaborate with her. She said umpteen times, it's not devotees I want, it's conscious collaborators that I want. So all that she's invested in each of you, let her reap that investment, because every time you change consciousness in yourself, you're helping the world. Every time fear gets weak in your consciousness, it's getting weak in the collective consciousness of all humanity. You want to change the world, change yourself, you change the world in the best and highest possible way. That's all I have to say, Palak. You can release the screen share and we can have questions. Let me see on the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask. So I'm going from the chat. One sec, let me go from the beginning, or make it easier for me, even if you put it on the chat, if it's still a question for you, unmute yourself and ask.
Mahesh, would you like to take up your question?
Can you tell me some more? What is, Mahesh, you're muted.
Shall I read the question?
He's
Hello.
unmuted now.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello. It's a nice session. And
Thank you.
first of all, I would like to have the link so that the whole program can be viewed by other family members
Absolutely.
at home. I have many questions anyway, but I think this is not the time. I'm talking from Borivali Center. SAS Borivali Center is my place where I'm currently. Yeah.
Okay.
I have one question. You
Yes.
said that it is Om Anandamay, this particular mantra. You said
Yes.
that we should recite this or we should meditate with this in the manner we have done before going to bed. That's what is your
Yes.
suggestion?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Yes. Okay.
fantastic. Yeah. Please, somebody else.
Anyone else? Yes, Preeti? I can't hear you, Baba.
Okay, now am I
Yeah.
audible? Okay.
You're audible.
Yeah, my question was, so you kind of taught us this tool that we can use before going to bed every night if we want to change like old scripts running in our head and change them to new ones. If we don't say the mantra, if we just revise the thought pattern, would it be as effective and powerful, or is
It
the
would be
mantra?
this mantra. If the mantra doesn't call you, don't use it, because you can't force these things. But I have seen that it's worked very, very well for many youth who've used it. But it depends on your connection with it. It shouldn't be forced. You could just say Oms. If you didn't connect with the mantra, use whatever mantra works for you.
No, I liked it. It was beautiful, but I was just wondering if, on a habitual basis, I have to do this, would some of the power of it get, be lessened if I don't say the mantra? That was just a question.
That's a difficult thing to answer, because
Okay.
the power of anything is in the consciousness which does it. So you just say your intentions with a very strong consciousness. It's powerful. But yes, this is, in my experience, this is a very powerful mantra. Do try it. If
Sure.
it doesn't work for you, feel free to drop it.
Sure. Thanks.
Maitri, you have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So, so I just want to know basically about how, okay, let's say if I feel really bad about myself and about my work or something like that, and then I use this every night where I use it as a tool to feel good about myself. But then sometimes when you get onto social media or all these other things, you're constantly bombarded with people making you feel like you're not good enough. So
Yes.
I feel like how do you sort of win that battle? Because it's kind of like whatever work you are trying to do gets undone because of like social media or because of things around you. So I feel like it's something that's kind of hard, because how do you shape your subconscious into being the way you want it to be when there's way more factors outside of you that are telling you otherwise?
Maitri, go to the beginning of the talk. I told you there's a flame of fire. It will burn a person whose body temperature is lower than the flame, but it will feel cold to a person whose body temperature is higher. So if you don't want the flames of the environment to burn you, you just simply have to increase the threshold of your consciousness, and it's perfectly possible. Every time the social media, anyone suggests anything negative to you about yourself, immediately start saying something positive. And especially if you're doing this meditation every night, the seeds of it are already there in your subconscious mind. Right now, if you try to do it, maybe it'll be difficult because you've not sown those seeds in your subconscious mind. But every time you're meditating with this, you're sowing seeds in your subconscious mind. And every time somebody criticizes you, you start saying your positive affirmations, your positive belief, Anandmayi, Chaitanyamayi, whatever you like. And you will see that as your subconscious beliefs change, your environment will completely change, Maitri, because
Yeah.
it's that magnet and iron filing thing. You change the lines of force, the pattern of the iron filing will change.
Yeah.
Does that answer you, Maitri?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Great. Anyone else?
Miss, I have a question.
Yeah, Shikha?
So, in the heat of the moment, when say when you're feeling really anxious or really angry, and sometimes you say these positive affirmations, the positive things about yourself, but it's not coming from within. It's just a superficial thing initially. So, does that also help, or
But
like?
that's what Shikha's saying. I just told Maitri that if you've not sown the seeds of this belief in your subconscious mind through this process every night, then it's a fight between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And guess who's going to win? Your subconscious mind is going to win. But if you have pulled the subconscious mind on your side by doing this process every night, it won't be such a terrible battle.
Yeah, but Miss, initially, when you just start with sowing the seed, for a while, it's going to just be at the conscious level, and then
Yeah, but Shikha, even if you do this 3-4 times, you'll see how powerful it is. If you've done it concentratedly with intention, you'll see it will become easier and easier to believe those positive affirmations.
And Miss, in the heat of the moment, when you're feeling something really strongly, is it like, should you let that feeling should you just let yourself feel that completely, or should you stop yourself and try to change the gear?
Shikha, I know where you're coming from because we've discussed many parts in our Savitri session. But in the context of what we are doing today, remember that the biochemistry of your whole body changes with every thought you think. And every negative thought you think with more and more pessimism creates a stronger archive in your subconscious mind. So not only are you feeling miserable in the moment, but you're sowing seeds for future misery also. So definitely try and cut it. Definitely intervene with a thought of mother, whatever brightens you. offer it to the mother, that's very powerful, or think of a positive affirmation, whatever. But remember that the biochem and the science is saying, yoga to has said it thousands of years ago, but science is proving, quantum biology, etc., proving that with every thought you think, you're changing the biochemistry of your whole body. So be responsible with what you think. You want to be healthy, the greatest health tonic is bright, happy thoughts. Now, again, some of us will get anxious that, oh my God, I've been told that my negative thoughts make me sick. Now, I can't stop my negative thoughts. That means I'm going to be very sick. Lots of you have told me that. But understand one thing, that yes, the negative thoughts are powerful, but you have something much more powerful in you than your negative thoughts. That's the superconscious in you. So, and even if you are in that moment not able to control your negative thoughts, the superconscious works behind its veil to protect you. Beautiful lines in Savitri: even when we lie embedded in earthly consciousness and fail to look into our souls, still we have paths that grow towards the light. So even if you don't have a conscious access to the superconscious in that moment because you're so in the grip of darkness, just remind yourself the superconscious has access to me and it will do its work. And if I keep remembering grace, if I keep remembering the mother, by and by, forgive me if some of you are from a belief system other than the mother. Wherever I say mother, replace it with Christ, Allah, whatever you like, it doesn't matter. But connect with that. Mother says, take my name mechanically if you have to. But even if you take it mechanically, you pave an inroad for me to enter you. She says, I understand that sometimes you're not able to take my name with feeling because you're so much in the grip of your dark moment. But take my name mechanically, even that will help me to form an inroad to you. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, who's speaking, please? I'm shunting between screens, so I can't see all of you. Who's this?
Hi, my name is Urja.
Okay, yeah, Urja.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that there are certain negative forces which bring us down to such an extent that we are in a state of self-doubt.
Okay.
And we often think that we are not capable of doing anything, even though we have the potential to, which is hidden inside.
Yes.
So how do we get out of this self-doubt and to an extreme level of self-doubt?
So Urja, will you do this practice?
How do I come out of this situation?
So yeah, baby, I'm answering that. Will you do this practice that I've just told you for 21 days every night? So I've got the audio recording of it. I'm happy to send it to whoever wants if you can't remember it, or you can just play this bit of it from the Facebook recording. It will be put up on Facebook. If you remember it from memory, that's also perfectly fine. Do it any way you like. Do it every day for 21 days. Okay? And yes, during your waking hours, whenever somebody tells you you're good for nothing, now, I had read somewhere, if my memory serves me right, that mother has written in her biography that her mother used to tell her you're a good for nothing. So if somebody tells you you're good for nothing, tell yourself, I'm in very good company. Even mother was called good for nothing. And whatever negative things people tell you, immediately change it into a positive. Just say it. Suppose somebody tells you you're a good for nothing, then just change it to whatever I am is between mother and me, between God and me. Nobody can accurately judge it. And in my own time, my potentials are sure to blossom. I'm giving you one example, but every time somebody tries to feed something negative into your mind, change it to a positive. Yeah, do this over a period of time. you'll automatically see as you change, people will start speaking differently to you. If you change, you'll attract different responses from people. I'm not saying you are responsible for the way they are behaving with you. I'm not saying that. That is unkind. I wouldn't say that. All I'm saying is that you have the power to change yourself and your situation. If you start, see, the world sees you the way you see yourself. If you believe deep down in your subconscious mind that I'm no good, that's the way the world sees you. If you change that belief system right down to your subconscious mind, the way the whole world sees you will change. Yeah.
Also, like if I have somewhere negative thoughts about certain people, so if sometimes I think, no, it is only my thought that it is being negative, the person can't be of that character. So how do I change that?
Give me an example, Urja.
Like suppose if I come across someone who is extremely kind, who is extremely nice, and I think of someone who is who's scaring me, like because of my past experience I have encountered. Possibly it's not necessarily my true story, but if I have come across someone who has behaved kind with me but was actually deceptive, so how do I get out of all these beliefs?
So how do you get out of the belief that, oh, people will deceive me, people will betray me? That's what you're asking. See, Urja, remember one thing, Mother has said it beautifully. For me, it was life-changing when I read it. She said that, not verbatim, I'm telling you from memory, that the best of people will let you down. Because understand one thing, no human being is finally there for you. Only the divine is for you if you are for the divine. So don't expect people not to let you down, and don't expect people to let you down. Remember one thing, even if the part betrays you, the whole will never betray you. A person is a part of life. The whole may use that part to betray you, to give you that pain, which is the hammer of the gods, etc., etc. But while this part of life betrays you, the whole of life will come together to support you. It's like that potter. One hand of the potter is supporting the pot from inside so firmly, and the other hand is banging the pot to give it the best possible design. But both the hands are of the potter. So remember one thing, the pot may betray you, but the whole never will. So that's what Mother meant when she says, only the divine is for you if you are for the divine. So put all your faith in that whole, that intelligence of life, that never mind what people do to me, finally I'll be looked after. And whatever they do to me, I'm going to go to a better place. So the more you start putting those kind of beliefs in your subconscious mind, the more you'll see how beautiful life can be. Yeah? Rudika had raised her hand.
Sorry, Miss, that was by mistake.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hi, Miss. I'm Arpita, and my question is that why is it that we need to chant the mantra and try to reprogram our subconscious only before sleeping? And if we do it at any other time of the day, will it be that effective?
It will be effective, but the science has actually proven that just as you're falling asleep, the wall between your subconscious mind and your conscious mind becomes very thin. So now see how yoga's used it in the Bihar school of yoga. Swami Niranjanand, who was a very naughty boy. His guru, Swami Satyanand, had taken him into his fold since he was a little boy. But Swami Niranjanand would never sit and learn the shlokas and all that his teacher would teach him because he was extremely naughty. So what his teacher did was he would put him to sleep using Yog Nidra, and he would chant all the mantras, and he would wake up somehow knowing the mantras. So whatever is programmed into your mind at that very precious time as you're falling asleep has very, very deep inroads into the subconscious mind.
Okay, miss.
It will work even if you do it at another time, but that's why, a lot of you have this habit of being on phone the last thing you go to sleep, or watching horrifying movies or things like that. But that is what you're programming into your subconscious mind. It's very important that half an hour before you sleep, what is the mind state you're cultivating? In a way, your life depends on that. Thank you, Priyasha. I see you're taking care of my chat. Right now, I'm so engaged in talking that I'm not able to see the chat. But Priyasha, please take care of that. Thank you for that. Rest of you, are there any more questions?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
And I'm firstly wishing a happy Guru Purnima once again.
Thank you, Brijesh. Is that Brijesh talking?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes. Happy
So,
Guru
ma'am,
Purnima to you too.
thank you, ma'am. So, my ma'am, question is, how can I consciously use my subconscious mind's access to mind for like deeper libraries of knowledge? Like, I have great ideas come to me when I'm falling asleep or waking up in the sleep. A character will
Yes.
say something heartfelt or extreme or bright to an old memory.
Yeah. So, what is your question, Brijesh? I'm not very clear what you're asking. Can you rephrase your question? You're asking how you can tap into your subconscious mind to live your life the best you can. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
So, Brijesh, everything we've said, using that time before you sleep in the best possible way, in your waking hours, be very conscious what you're thinking about yourself, about the world, because whatever you're thinking is going to go into your subconscious mind. So, change your thought pattern. Think bright, happy thoughts as much as you can, and that's what will change your subconscious mind. You have a connection with Sri Aurobindo, that beautiful portrait you painted of his. Think of that portrait when dark moments come. Think of anything that's bright and happy and cheerful, even during your waking state. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? Any other question?
Pooja, would you like to ask your question?
Satvika, just saw your message. Happy Guru Purnima to you too. Lovely to see you. Pooja, you want to ask your question? Hey Khushru, lovely to see you.
And thank you for this session, Anita. It was lovely.
You're more than welcome. Khushru's my nephew from Canada. I'm so happy to see him.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Any more questions or should we call it a day? Yeah? So stay well, stay happy. Please fulfill all the hopes Mother and Sri Aurobindo has in your generation. You have to do it. Okay? Good evening. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anita.
Much.
Ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Anita.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So in case you want to get Anita these recording, I'm sharing the form once again. You can share your email IDs over that. And I'll quickly share the announcement for our next session in case you would like to join in. So our next session's topic is career, by chance or by choice. We have these interactions every Sunday, and the announcements happen on the Oro Youth page, and either the already would be sharing the announcements with you. Feel free to join in case the topic interests you. And Anita, really very grateful to you for being with us,
Pleasure,
for
Palak.
sharing this beautiful.
Thank you for putting it together, Palak. Thank you, Shiv Kumar. And people, in case you're interested in our Savitri classes, we have them every Saturday at 5 o'clock. A lot of young people like you, in fact, some of you who are part of the class are here. I urge you to join, not because I'm doing it, I'm insignificant, but really Savitri is such a gem. None of you should miss it. It's one of the biggest treasures Sri Aurobindo has left for humanity, and we must make the most of it. So do come if you'd like to. Priyasha, you'll share the details with them. I think Priyasha has been sharing on the chat, right? Or you can ask me on Messenger on Facebook, and I'll personally also tell you more about it.
So,
yeah, Priyasha.
Mrs. Compilations and all the classes that we have for Savitri are posted on the Oro Youth Mumbai page. So it's basically everything
on Instagram and Facebook, right, Pilu?
Yeah, both.
Pilu does a fantastic job of it. All the beautiful videos you'll see are made by Pilu. Most of them. One was made by Yukti at Falls. So thank you, Pilu.
That's not the point, but the links for the Savitri classes and any other classes that are happening, I keep updating them on the page. So if you'll follow it even for this session or any other Oro Youth related activity, it will be easier to
Okay, Palak, you want to end the meeting? You want to call it a day?
Yes, thank you so much everyone for joining in. Thank you, Anita Di.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Anita.
you. So good
Thank
to
you
see
so
all of
much.
you. So,
Yeah.
Grishma.